I've got the valve seats ground, and I took the valves to my dad's shop and we ground them with the valve grinder, and the stems are worn, but they're just barely within the spec, so I'm going to go ahead and put them back together. Except that I found what is probably a showstopper. So let's take a look here. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, there's a crack from the intake valve seat through into the inside of the cylinder. So yeah, I don't know if the crack propagates into the water jacket or not. Either way, I'm not going to get good sealing on that valve, and yeah, that's basically a showstopper for this motor. So yeah, that really sucks. So this is day, who knows, too many on this project. You can see I got the roll cage off, radiator is out. So I think that I've got, yeah, so the radiator is out. I took the access panel off over the torque converter and took the bolts out of the flex plate, and I've removed all of the, I think I've removed all of the hydraulic hose connections to the hydraulic pump and the power steering pump, and I've got to take one more line off that transmission filter, and then yeah, I should be ready tomorrow to pick it up and pull the motor out. The process is pretty much the same as a car. I'm just going to pick it up, block up the transmission, remove the motor mount, completely remove the motor mount in the front, and I should be able to slide the thing towards the back and hopefully pick it up. There's a lot of room on the back side of the motor. Well, it's actually the front of the motor, but it's the back of the machine, and there's lots of room for it to come towards the back, so it shouldn't be too bad. Hopefully yeah, a couple hours tomorrow I'll have it out, and then yeah, I got to make some kind of a plan. Alright, the motor's out. I went ahead and took off, just real quick, took off one main cap and one rod cap, and for two reasons. I wanted to see what the condition of the journals was, and also to see if the bearings were undersized. And the crankshaft actually looks very good. The journals look real nice, and I pulled the bearings out. Both of them are stamped 10 thousandths under. Other than being really dirty and, you know, nasty from all that coolant being in the oil, the bottom end of this motor looks really good. So now I'm really not sure what to do. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make some decisions. So I've talked to a rebuilder or remanufacturer of these Continental engines, and they said that the 245s are notorious for the exact issue that I have, the crack between the intake valve and the cylinder wall. They said that it can be fixed. So basically there's a process called lock stitching, where you drill a hole into the cast iron, tap it, install a tapered plug, cut off the plug, grind it, grind the surface smooth, and then you go half the distance, half the diameter up, drill another hole, do the same thing, and you basically stitch your way along the crack. It's pushing the crack apart, but so you don't have any structural strength, but you don't have any leaks. So basically the process is you have to lock stitch the crack, bore the cylinders to, I don't know, probably 3.5, 3 something like that, and then press in a sleeve, and we'll basically turn this 245 into a 227. So the only difference between the 227 and the 245 is the 245 has a larger bore. But they bored them too far, and the cylinder walls aren't thick enough to be robust. So now I have to decide, and I'm going to have to make some calls and figure out pricing. I have to decide whether it's more or less expensive to repair this engine and sleeve it to be a 227 and do a full rebuild, or to try to find a used 227 and just rebuild it minus all the machine work. So I don't know, probably if I could find a 227 it's going to need to be bored anyway, so I'm not saving a whole lot of money there. This is another reason why I really hate reman engines, is that, and from my experience anyway, you never get a reman engine that doesn't have the crank ground once. So I think that they must just take the cranks out and grind them all as a standard procedure. And you know, if you were rebuilding these motors one at a time, you would inspect the crankshaft, and if the journals were good, you might just polish it and put it back together. You know, usually these industrial motors are forged crankshafts and they're really good on the bottom end. You don't have a lot of problems, but these reman companies, they just grind them all. And I really don't like that, because you only get 30 thousandths on the journals to grind. And then at that point, once you're 30 thousandths under, you either have to source a new crankshaft or weld up all the journals. And you know, that gets to be a real expensive endeavor. So anyway, I'm going to make some calls, do some snooping around. I think that I probably have the capacity to do all the machine work myself. I've got a machine that will bore those cylinders. I've never bored a cylinder for a sleeve before, but you know, I've bored plenty of things for other purposes, so I'm not too worried about that. I got to source the parts. Anyway, yeah, probably have to put this project on hold for a little while, but yeah, that's the current state of things. So yeah, this is the part of the project where it looks like the machine, you know, came in and just fell apart all over the floor. And it's probably going to look like this for quite a while. So yeah, that's going to be it for now, but you know, I can't leave it in pieces like this, so I will fix it. It's just a matter of when.